Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys about something that has come up to me and me talking with other people, and that is all of these issues we're having these days of talks of police brutality, police resorting to weapons, not just necessarily even their guns, but even, say, tasers or asbatons or pepper spray, at least within the United States, much faster than maybe they should. How much of that is true is really subject to a lot of debate. This is a complex issue. However, I have to wonder personally if something we couldn't do to help resolve this would be both obligation on the part of the police officers as well as the taxpayers and the police departments and the people who employ them. And that is, are our physical fitness standards adequate for police officers? Are our police officers strong enough? Are they properly trained enough in hand-to-hand combat? And if they were, would there be as much need on their part to resort to these things? Because oftentimes it's a case of, it's not even always brutality. People might see it that way, but the police officer feels there's a legitimate danger. They feel that grappling someone could be a problem, or even they're not physically fit and impressive enough to have what's called officer presence to maybe deter someone from wanting to get in a conflict with them, because there's studies on this showing that the more physically fit and the wider shoulders, bigger arms and things a police officer has, the less likely statistically a criminal is to get into a conflict with them. And the reason I bring this up is we have something like my novice program. I started my novice program, the Ice Cream Fitness 5x5. I originally wrote that for a police officer friend of mine who, after he and another officer had to hold down a guy who was 18, had been playing high school football, who was a lot stronger than them, that they had to restrain him, and they chose not to use pepper spray or tasers, and he had said it was quite a struggle. The guy was stronger than each of them physically, and so he came to me for help. And that is when I originally wrote that program, because he said he wanted better officer presence, he wanted wider shoulders, he wanted bigger arms to fill out the sleeves of his uniform, but most importantly, he needed to be physically stronger to help put somebody down without having to resort to his taser. Because believe it or not, there are many circumstances where the cops don't want to have to use that stuff. That creates an extra use of force issue for them. It creates for them possibly having to go before a grand jury. It creates additional paperwork. They would rather avoid those things in many cases, if at all possible. So how do we solve this? First of all, higher physical fitness standards for police officers. Mandatory gym time, but also on the part of the taxpayer, you need to be willing to deal with that. If you want police officers that are in better shape, why don't we make the training not only mandatory, but part of their work week? Let's say if people were to take 3 to 4 hours and require mandatory gym memberships, mandatory time spent, logged proof that they spent that 3 to 4 hours every week in the gym lifting weights, pay them for it as part of their job. Pull 10% of their patrol time out, put that 10% in the gym, hitting the iron with evidence of it, put them on proven protocols. Use my novice program. I originally wrote this program specifically for a police officer who needed better officer presence and better physical strength, and my God, did it work. I added over 200 pounds to his deadlift in 16 weeks. You run most police officers on that program for 6 months, they're going to be easily double, if not triple, the strength they started at. You put them on it for a year straight, they will be physically stronger than 99% of the population with a 4-hour or less commitment per week, 3 days a week, that's it. Departments could negotiate for reduced gym membership rates, and a lot of gyms would jump on that. To have a whole police department at a strength gym be in their gym, they would give them a massive discount, or they would charge a department something like a flat fee, because it would be great for their business. They would love it. It would help serve the taxpayers. It would help protect the community. Stronger, fitter officers who don't need to resort to their pepper spray, their taser, their asbaton, their gun as often, because of both officer presence and physical strength and the confidence that comes with that. So that's the sort of thing that we need. So it needs to be higher standards, but we need to enforce those standards, and we need to be willing to put something forward ourselves as society in order to ensure that those standards are met. So shouldn't be all completely then on the police officer. Let's make it mandatory, but make it easier for them to do. Get these cops into shape. That would help tremendously with all of this. In addition to probably mandatory hand-to-hand training, something like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Krav Maga, any of those things are very, very good for that type of situation. They could hire instructors to do this, push more of that into the police officer world. You combine these things together, and I promise you this use of force issue will be dramatically de-escalated. It's just that I think the police are not being given the proper tools and the proper training in regard to this to bring this down. And I think these things would help tremendously. And plus, most of them actually want to get into better shape anyways. Pay them to go to the gym and give them gym memberships, and I promise you they'll jump on board in droves. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time. But let me give you guys a bicep shot before I go. Oh, Mount Vesuvius.